everyone, I'm Ananya and welcome back to my channel. In this week's video, we're going to talk about something slightly different because a lot of you have been requesting this kind of video, and I am going to be talking about how to apply to the US for undergraduate studies. I'm only going to talk about the timeline and what you need to do at each step of the way, so you have a better understanding of what all you need to do to get to the US for undergraduate studies. For this video, I'm going to assume and give you a timeline that you're in 11th and you're preparing to study after 2 years in the United States. So if we are in 2021 right now, you'll be applying for the 2023 fall session. That's what the timeline for this particular video is going to look like. January to June. Figure out which courses you want to take and which colleges you want to go to. First part is your courses. What do you actually want to study? This question is something I am going to talk about a little bit more than maybe someone else would or usual people actually talk about, is because this is one of the most important things. You're in a particular stream right now in school, you're in either commerce or you're in humanities or in science, and you might actually want to follow these paths in the future as well. Some of you have no idea what you want to do, and that's also perfectly fine. The best part about studying in the United States is that you do not need to choose your major or declare a major right now. What does that mean? That means you can apply to university, get into university and finish 2 years of studies there before you actually declare what you want to study. And that is one of the best parts, one of the most pro points, according to me, of why you should actually consider the US for undergraduate study. So what actually happens in the first 2 years of study in the US is that there are general requirements, and these general requirements are the same for whether you're studying history, whether you're studying political science, whether you're studying business or computers. So in the general requirements, what you end up doing is you take a bunch of classes in different subjects, which gives you a lot of foundation and also gives you perspective. You get to understand different fields. So the interdisciplinary studies is highest in the United States undergraduate program, because even though you might be a pre-medical student, taking that one psychology class, that one history class, that one English literature class, or studying Shakespeare or doing theatre, what is that one subject going to teach you that your pre-medical studies is not going to teach you is the idea of perspective. Taking the backseat, understanding that there is more to your particular field and your life and your job than what you actually end up studying in college. There are many different things that can intermingle and come together, and what you learn in that one Shakespeare class or that one history class or psychology class, applying that to business school, for example, or applying that to engineering or applying that to medical school, is actually really great. So there are general requirements that all of you have to take no matter which college you go to in the US. Most of the undergraduate studies programs do require general requirements, and you have to complete these requirements to be able to graduate. There's majors and then there are minors, and then minors means you take a certain number of classes and you can minor in that subject. For example, you might be studying economics as your major subject, and most of your courses are going to be in economics, but you can minor in international relations, you can minor in psychology, you can minor in statistics, you can minor in business studies. That will actually help you maybe get the job skills or extra skills that you might need as part of your degree, and might help you in your employment later on as well. So you can actually take majors and minors in the US. Now there are lots of permutations and combinations to this. You can do one major only, you can do a double major, you can do a major and a minor, you can do a major and 2 minors. It depends on your capacity to study and what exactly you want to do. So there are a lot of permutations and combinations, but that's what I'm going to say in this video about this particular topic. So the first thing that you need to decide when you're going to study in the US is what course you actually want to study. Step number 2 is figuring out your list of colleges. Now have about 8 to 12 colleges on your list. I had 6 colleges on my list. Now the thing with each college is there will be an application fee, so do keep in mind that don't just go wild with this and just select lots of different colleges. Select the colleges that have the course that you particularly want to study, a place that you actually want to study at. There are different criteria that you need to select your college with. Do check out this video of mine where I tell you step by step how you need to actually select the particular college for you. This video is going to be really useful for you because it tells you exactly what criteria you need to be looking at to select the college that will be a right fit for you. In terms of colleges, definitely make an Excel sheet, put in all the colleges, put in all the data, put in all the points that you are looking at, make the Excel sheet, make that spreadsheet and figure out which colleges will actually fit you and how you need to do this. That is just step number 2. Step number 3 is going to all of the colleges websites that you selected. Maybe you might have 15 to 20 on your list for now, and then you shortlist it to 12 or 8 even. Now go to all the websites of all of these colleges and figure out the prerequisites, which means what do they expect you to do. What are the exams that are required of you? What are the minimum grades? Because they will ask your grades from 9th onwards. You will have to submit 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th transcripts of your grades to the college. So please look at all the prerequisites that you need to do and you need to get to before you actually apply to these colleges and then be like, oh, I don't even have the prerequisites for this program. That's not a good situation to be in, so check this out before you apply. Now comes September. So September to December of 11th, you need to check your exams. So most colleges in the United States require you to take the SATs or an alternate exam called the ACTs as well as TOEFL or IELTS. There are very few exceptions to this, so most colleges do require to give the SATs and also the TOEFL or the IELTS exams. SATs are the Scholastic Aptitude Test, which tests your math and English skills. This is a required examination in almost every single American university for undergraduate studies. For graduate studies, there are different exams like the GMAT or the GRE. For undergraduate, there are the SATs or the ACTs if that is something that you prefer to do. Depends on your university and college. Please look up both of these exams and check out what is actually required of you. The second set of exams are the TOEFL or the IELTS. This is an English proficiency test to understand your level of English, whether you're going to be able to cope with university level English in the United States. Please check out the websites and understand which exam is actually accepted by your university. You can give the SAT exams to about 4 different times. Space out your exams, space out when you can give your attempt 1, attempt 2, attempt 3 and if required attempt 4. Studying for the TOEFL and the IELTS is also difficult, but it's not as tough as the SATs. SATs are much more harder and much more difficult and of course have math in it, whereas the TOEFL and the IELTS do not have math at all. They are only English, but there are different types of English, which means there's written and spoken English, and there are different aspects to those exams as well. So your step number 3 is figuring out which exams that you need to give, what are the dates for these exams and when you can actually give them in that year. So there are exams that you need to give and these exams are tough. You need to start preparing for them. You may not be able to crack it in the first go. So please give yourself time to prepare for these exams. Take classes, do practice tests, get online, do your research, buy the books, do a lot of self-study and then start and go to a center to actually help you in studying for these exams. The first thing is your SATs. Everything else, your loans, your scholarship, your application process, your resume, SOP, whatever else comes after the SATs. Because why? SATs is a huge criteria while selecting the universities that you have, and while selecting your universities you will obviously end up having your top schools, your medium schools and your low schools. And low schools I mean which means guaranteed that you're going to get in given your background and your requirement. Your SATs are going to define where you can apply. Some schools do have a minimum cutoff, so if you do not make that cutoff you will not be able to even apply to those universities. So please keep this in mind. Your SATs are quite a deciding factor. You have to do well in them because you are competing with the best of the best around the world. Please focus on them. Please study hard for them and do well in your SAT exams, also in your TOEFL and IELTS exams. Step number 3 was your exams. Step number 4 is where you actually get to the application process, and the application process has many different steps in it. This will usually happen between January to about October depending on your SAT exams and how well you did on them. This phase usually occurs between January to October of your 12th class year. So you have to apply about a year in advance is when the applications open. So if you're applying for 2023, by 2022 October, you are able to apply to most of the universities. Application steps obviously involve applying to the college, which means the college gives you certain essays that you need to write, your statement of purpose, you have to have a proper resume, you have to ask for recommendation letters from your university and your teachers. This is the subject that you are good at, you are exceptional at. That is the professor or the teacher who's going to give you a very, very good recommendation. Most students are obviously part of clubs, you are doing something, but class 11 sets you up for class 12. So if you're applying for any position of leadership on campus in class 12, you need to prove yourself in class 11. So when you're in 11th, please do as much as you possibly can in terms of your extracurriculars, in terms of doing things off campus, volunteering, internships, writing something, creativity, anything that you want to do, photography, whatever field that you want to work in, anything you can do on campus, be part of clubs, be presidents of clubs, whatever you can do in class 11, do as much as you can in 11th, because 12th is going to be much harder in terms of your pre-boards, preparing for your boards. So you will not have the time and energy to actually spend on all of these extracurricular activities. So please do that in 11th. There are many different agencies, many different people who can help you with this part of your application process. The main types of agents or study abroad consultants work on this part, which is your application process. They will help you apply to the universities in terms of writing your essays and helping you through them, helping you understand what SOPs are and how you do them, how you write a recommendation letter and getting help in writing that. That is what most study abroad consultants end up doing. Most applications are actually online, so you do not have to physically mail anything to anyone unless they ask you to do so specifically. So start your application process, you can save your draft, you can write the essays 10 times over, you can do all of that work between January to October of when you're in your class 12. Why am I saying this is because if you finish your applications by the end of October or early November, then you have to also prepare for your pre-boards and then give your board exams. Do not put pressure on yourself during that time. Try to have most of your applications and everything ready by the end of November or December at least, so that everything is done from your side for your pre-boards and your boards. Keep those 3 months of Jan, Feb, March of the next year only solely based for your board exams, because most of your offers are going to be conditional on the fact that you get minimum marks in your 12th board exams. So take those exams seriously as well. During this time, when you're applying from October to December, is when you fill in your applications online and submit them. There will be a number of things that you're going to be thinking about. Number one is scholarships. Most colleges in the US have college level scholarships awarded to undergraduate students, but almost 90% of these scholarships are merit based scholarships only. So if you are an exceptional student, you have an exceptional profile in your extracurricular activities, you're a very good student, you've done everything, that is what a merit-based scholarship is. So you can apply for these scholarships. There are, of course, many different types of scholarships available to you, and different websites provide a lot of information on what scholarships are available to undergraduate students in the US. Please check out all of these websites. I will link some of them in the description box below, so you can take a look at what types of scholarships are available for undergraduate students. A lot of them are going to be merit-based, some are gender-based, and some are location-based. The second part of this is you'll be looking at student loans. Loans are available to you provided you have your basic documents ready and you have a good profile, you have applied to these colleges, that you have the good background, you have all of these things ready. You can apply for student loans. Again, I'm going to link some of the websites that provide you information on student loans in the description box below, so you can check those out for how the loan process works and how you can actually apply for these student loans to go to the United States. This is the time from October to December where you have to also decide whether you want to do early decision or do early action at any of these universities in the US. These are options available to you only for the US. Early decision is basically when you decide this is the only dream college that you want to go to and you want to apply to it. Early decision. Early decision means that this contract is binding. If you get into this university, you will by law have to say no to all other universities in the world that you have applied to, and you have to go to this college, otherwise you will be black marked and you will not be able to apply for admission to other colleges. So if you're doing early decision, you have to accept the offer once you get it. So make sure this is your dreamiest of dreamy colleges. This is the one place that you actually want to go to. That should be your early decision college. If you're not sure, don't apply early decision anywhere. Just leave it, apply regular decision everywhere. Early action is also another thing that you can look into. It has different possibilities for you as a student, so that is also something you can look at as Indian international students going to study abroad in the United States. So once you've decided early decision, early application or regular decision, you have sent in all of your applications by November, December, maybe January. There are certain deadlines to all of these colleges to the last date of applications as well. So check those out and apply to these colleges on time. Once you have applied to all of these colleges, a lot of them are going to conduct an interview as well. The interview can take place online as well as on ground, which means they will contact an alumni or some student representative in your city and get you to meet these people. It can happen online, it can happen on ground, whatever the case. But it will happen, which means you need to actually take care of your application on your own. You need to know your application, need to know why you applied to this college, what you've said in your college essays, what have you said in your SOPs, which is why I keep telling a lot of students who rely everything and all of their decisions on these study abroad agencies or consultants who are helping you through your application. Don't just give it to them to do. You have to be part of the process. You have to know what is written in your own essays. Don't leave it up to them. Don't plagiarize somebody's work. Don't rely on somebody else's words and meanings and feelings for your essays and your application and your SOPs. Please use your own self and know what you've said in all of these essays, because you're in your interview process, you will be asked. They will ask questions, what you've written, why you said this, why you said that, and who are you. If you've lied on your application process, they will get to know. So please do not do any of this and prepare for your interview. Prepare to speak well, present yourself well, and do all of that preparation, because this can happen at any point of time the minute you submitted your application online. It can be anytime, anywhere. They will ask you to show up and you will have to show up. Now is the next stage, which means you might be getting a decision on your application, yes or no. For the US, they will send you, of course, a letter or an email saying congratulations, you've got into this university, or we regret to inform you, very sorry to say, you've not gotten into your college. If you're one of the lucky ones who have gotten into a number of different colleges, you will have to say no to the other colleges once you've decided which school you want to get into. Please check your emails, check whatever the university has sent you and reply to all of them. If you have applied early decision, like I said, you have to accept that offer. You do not have a choice in that case. For early action as well as regular decision, you can decide to say yes, you can decide to say no. But please, if you've decided to say yes, you've decided on your college, say no to all the other colleges as well. Now we've entered the very last phase of your application process. Firstly, study for your pre-boards, study for your boards, and do very well in them. Secondly, once you've gotten your transcripts and marks of your pre-boards, you will have to send them to your university, basis which they will actually send you your conditional offer. And once your board marks come in is when they actually give you the final offer. Your offer, no matter from which college you get it, will be conditional on the fact that you did well in your exams, which means some of the colleges do have minimum cutoffs also. If you do not score 70%, for example, in some colleges, your offer will not stand. Please know the minimum requirements for the exams for your pre-boards and boards, and only then apply to these colleges if you're confident enough of getting good marks. Once you've gotten that, you will also get your I-20 and then your SEVIS forms. This is an I-20 and this is your SEVIS form. Once you get this is when you can start applying for your visas. And for your visa, you will need a lot of work that you need to do beforehand in terms of providing proof of sufficient funds, which means your parents, whoever is paying for this, has to actually have sufficient funds in their bank account, have bank statements ready, have all of these documents ready, so that the minute you get your visa appointment, you have everything prepared. Also prepare verbally for your visa interview, understand your own application, understand the college that you're going to, the city that you're going to, know details about your tuition fees, because now you are 18 years old, will consider you as an adult in the interview. You cannot say my mom said, my dad said. No, it does not work. So know your application, know what you're getting yourself into, know all of this for your visa application and your visa interview. Once you've gotten your visa, once everything is settled and you've gotten it, that is when you are set and ready to go to the US for your undergraduate studies. So congratulations. months. So that was the timeline for how you start preparing for the US. These are the steps that you need to do, and this is the timeline that you need to follow to go to the US to study abroad. For all your loans, your scholarships, I have given links in the description box below, so definitely check those out. I really hope you liked this video of the timeline, and if you did, please give it a huge thumbs up. If you have any questions on studying abroad in the US, please leave them in the comment box below, and don't forget to share and subscribe to my channel for more such videos on studying abroad. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.